We're tired of hurting. This is not fair to us as her family. The only place we get to go see her is at a cemetery or where he killed her.
I walked that path. I found her body. We walked at least 2.5 miles in the dark, in the cold. There was no light there at all. I couldn't see anything in front of me. The moon illuminated her body. That's how we found her.
Friends and family gathered to commemorate 18-year-old Honesty Selby. They played music, set out flowers, and candles were lit, illuminating the mourning faces of the loved ones left behind. The Williamsburg teen's body was found the day she was reported missing on a dirt logging path in a remote area of Isle of Wight County. And tonight, those who gathered grieving the huge emptiness now left in their hearts.
She was 18 years old, a senior at War Hill High School in Williamsburg, Virginia. She had a family who loved her, a future ahead of her, and a whole life waiting to begin. And then one day, she was just gone. Honesty Selby didn't disappear because of a stranger. She didn't vanish into thin air. She was with someone she knew, someone she had been spending time with, someone her family and friends had watched her build a relationship with over the course of just 2 months, 60 days. That's all it was. And it ended with her body found along a remote logging road in Isle of Wight County, Virginia, shot dead and left there, alone, in the cold quiet of the countryside. When her family first realized they hadn't heard from her in a couple of days, they did what any family would do. They started calling. They started looking. They reported her missing and waited for answers that took far too long to come. What investigators eventually uncovered was a story that is equal parts heartbreaking and infuriating. A young woman who trusted someone, got into a car with him, and never made it home.
As older men, we shouldn't be burying our children. You know, and that's don't think that our parents that's being on our butt just for nothing. You know, that's remember that our family love you.
Her name was Honesty Selby, and her story deserves to be told, fully, honestly, and with the respect she never got in her final hours. Before we go any further, drop your state or country in the comments right now. I want to know who is here, who is watching, and who is standing with Honesty's family today. Let's fill that comment section up. Now, if you're new here, welcome. And if you've been here before, you already know that on this channel, we don't rush through stories like this. We sit with them. Because behind every case, behind every headline, there is a real person. There's a real family. And there's a real community that is still living with the loss.
In Isle of Wight County, police say someone found the body of a missing Williamsburg teenager. The family of Honesty Selby reported her missing Friday morning, just days after her 18th birthday.
Honesty Selby was that real person. She was a teenager on the edge of her next chapter, about to finish high school, about to step into whatever came next. And the person who took that from her was not a stranger in the dark. He was someone she had chosen to let into her life, someone she had argued with, made up with, and kept coming back to the way young people in complicated relationships sometimes do. His name was Andarius McClelland. He was in his early 20s, from Newport News. And by the time January 2023 was over, he would confess to shooting Honesty Selby during an argument and leaving her body behind on that lonely road. This is her story. Stay with me.
Just a few days ago on Tuesday, Honesty's family says they celebrated her milestone birthday in the Outer Banks. Today, they are in mourning.
Ebony Selby describes her niece as a helpful, loving, and sweet person. She says Honesty dreamed of going to cosmetology school after high school.
She has such a good spirit about her that like little children and babies would just flock to her.
Ebony says no one in the family had heard from Honesty since Wednesday night, and they started to worry. Captain Tommy Potter with the Isle of Wight Sheriff's Office says someone found her body Friday in a rural area off the Blue Ridge Trail in Windsor.
We know that there was a gate off of Blue Ridge Trail that we did find unsecured, and so we think that is how that she and whoever else she may have been gained access to this area.
Potter wouldn't disclose who found Honesty's body, but Ebony says it was her, along with Honesty's mother and father. Ebony says a friend pinged her location and sent it to the family.
You never want to see anything like that in your life.
Captain Potter says the teenager's phone was last used around 8:30 Wednesday night, but investigators aren't sure it was Honesty who used it. Detectives and family are trying to figure out how she got to the Blue Ridge Trail and her connection to the Windsor area.
There's never a place that we've ever heard of her visiting or going to, anything.
A friend of Honesty says she wasn't the type to put herself in harm's way.
As of I know, she never really seemed to involve herself in anything that could potentially put her in danger.
We need answers. We need answers to all this. There's so many questions, so many questions.
Captain Potter says there will be an autopsy to determine how she died, but until then, investigators are treating this as a suspicious death.
Her family wished the friend who got the location could have read the message earlier and alerted someone close to her. Maybe that could have saved her life.
Turning our attention now to a homicide investigation. The clue to finding a missing teen may have been a cry for help, according to loved ones of Honesty Selby. Police say a shared location that came from Honesty's phone led family members to finding her body.
News 3's Danielle Seda spoke with Honesty's older sister about this tragedy and tells us more.
Kalia Sellers, the older sister of Honesty Selby, says the only way she can see her little sister now is through a screen, but it could never compare to the real thing.
She was so full of life. She didn't have no worries. She didn't bother anybody.
On her sister's 18th birthday, Sellers found out that she was missing.
And I was just praying that it was like she was at a friend's house, you know, just chilling.
A couple days later, a shared location from Selby's phone to a friend led family to her last location in Isle of Wight. Sellers believes this clue may have been a call for help.
I still have visions of how she would have been laying there, you know, in the cold, in the dark, by herself, scared.
Sellers says Selby's family notified police about the shared location. Investigators tell us the family was instructed not to search on the private property due to the risk of tampering with evidence or getting lost themselves.
They just rushed up and did it themselves. And they ended up finding her and then calling the police after.
Sellers says the call after family discovered her was heart-wrenching.
I broke down, screaming. It was so bad that the neighbors knocked on the door. It was like, "Are you okay?"
After her body was found, investigators collected enough evidence to conduct an arrest warrant to 21-year-old Indarius McClelland of Newport News.
After Honesty's body was found, investigators arrived 12 minutes later, then collected enough evidence to issue an arrest warrant for 21-year-old Indarius McClelland of Newport News.
A few minutes, but for now we get to an update.
Well, a man's now in custody for the murder of a missing Williamsburg teenager. Honesty Selby disappeared 1 week ago today, and we're told her body was found shortly after on Blue Ridge Trail in Isle of Wight County. And now, Indarius McClelland faces second-degree murder charges for her death. Eugene Daniel joins us live now in Isle of Wight. Eugene, tell us more about this story.
Yeah, Honesty Selby's family says that her death comes just days after they celebrated her 18th birthday. They reported her missing on Friday after not hearing from her for 2 days. And later that day, her body was found along the Blue Ridge Trail in Windsor. An autopsy revealed that someone had shot Selby. Just yesterday, detectives took Indarius McClelland of Newport News into custody. A judge arraigned McClelland this morning, and he is now in the Western Tidewater Regional Jail. There are still many questions left unanswered in this case, including how investigators linked McClelland to Selby's murder. In about an hour, the Isle of Wight Sheriff is expected to give an update in this case, and hopefully we'll learn the answer to that question and more.
Previously stated, on Friday morning, the 13th, we received a teletype from James City County Police Department concerning 18-year-old Honesty Selby, who was considered missing from their jurisdiction. At approximately 9:05 p.m. that same evening, our 911 center received a call from the mother of Honesty Selby stating that they were on a logging path near Orbit Hunt Club. They were at that location because they had received information from a friend of Honesty who actually on Wednesday night, the 11th, had shared her location via social media. That friend did not see that location share until Friday when she heard the news that Honesty was missing. When the mother of Honesty Selby notified our dispatch that they were on that logging path, they were advised to stand by until deputies could arrive. They did not, but they proceeded to search the roads and the paths in that area. They unfortunately discovered the body of Honesty Selby that evening. Based on the investigation, it was determined that Honesty may have been seeing a guy named Darius who lived in Newport News. Darius was later determined's real name was Andarius McClelland. In fact, sent Honesty money via Cash App to pay for the Uber from Williamsburg to Newport News. Interviews with Andarius' brother revealed that Andarius and Honesty were at the residence in Newport News on the 11th, and they both left together at approximately 7:15 p.m. that evening. During the investigation, it was learned that Andarius' brother kept a 9mm handgun in the home, and on the morning of Friday, January 13th, Andarius McClelland attempted to sell that firearm but was unsuccessful. That firearm, which we believe is the murder weapon, was recovered from the house as a result of the search warrant conducted in Newport News last night. Andarius McClelland told our investigators that he and Honesty had been dating off and on for the past 2 months, and that from time to time she would come to his apartment or he would meet her in Newport News. On the night of January the 11th, she was at his apartment. When his brother got home from work, he asked to borrow the car. They then left, went to a store, and then, as was commonplace for them two, during their times together, they would look for a location to hang out and smoke marijuana. According to McClelland, they decided to drive to Isle of Wight County, where a location was found off of Iron Mine Springs Road, which is another road that's adjacent to the tract of timber where her body was found. According to McClelland, they drove up the path, they spent some time talking, smoking marijuana, and at some point an argument began over their relationship. And Darius tells investigators that he had the firearm on his person or in his hand at the time, and during the argument he fired the weapon, striking Honesty. He says he then panicked, left the area, and went back to Newport News. Subsequent to his arrest, Andarius McClelland is being held at the Western Tidewater Regional Jail on a no bond status.
Miles, thank you. Starting this afternoon with a guilty plea for the man that police say shot a teenager in Isle of Wight County. Andarius McClelland was facing 3 charges in this case. I want to bring in News 3 reporter Coulter Anstad, who is live outside of the courthouse in Isle of Wight County this afternoon. Coulter, you were in the courtroom this morning for the plea. Can you tell us what happened?
Yeah, Aaron, it was a typical plea hearing. Andarius McClelland was led into the courtroom in a red jail jumpsuit and handcuffs. Our cameras were not allowed inside. The Commonwealth started by recapping details of the case, and then the judge went over the plea hearings with McClelland. As News 3 has reported, 18-year-old Honesty Selby was found shot to death along a logging road here in Isle of Wight County in January of 2023. McClelland did not say anything in the courtroom today except to answer any questions the judge asked him. He pled guilty to second-degree murder and use of a firearm in the commission of a felony. He was also charged with first-degree murder, but per the plea agreement, that charge will be withdrawn. There were several members of Selby's family in the courtroom today, including her mother and sisters. McClelland did not appear to acknowledge any of them there in the courtroom. Some of those family members were visibly emotional, both inside the courtroom and outside the courthouse afterward, which is where I was able to talk with one of Selby's sisters.
I know getting justice won't bring her back to me, but it'll make me feel like I didn't fail her. And in there I feel like we failed her because we aren't able to get the right justice for her.
Currently, McClelland is scheduled to be sentenced November 24th. The maximum he could receive for his 2 charges is 43 years. Selby's sister, who again you just heard from there, tells me she believes he should spend the rest of his life behind bars. Live in Isle of Wight County, Coulter and Staff, WTKR News 3.
Deep frustration tonight for the family of an 18-year-old woman who went missing and was later found dead in Isle of Wight County nearly 2 years ago. But tonight we have an update in the case of Honesty Selby.
The man accused in her death was in court today for sentencing, but that sentencing did not happen. All new at 5, 10 on your sides, Robert Rizzo explains why.
Inside a courtroom at the Isle of Wight County Courthouse, Darius McClellan was scheduled to be sentenced after pleading guilty in the death of 18-year-old Honesty Selby back in January 2023. His attorney, Stephen Plott, asked for a continuance so his client could get a mental health evaluation, and the judge granted the motion. Outside the courthouse, Selby's family members upset and not very happy with the decision.
We're tired of hurting. This is not fair to us as her family. The only place we get to go see her is at a cemetery, or where he killed her.
Honesty was found dead on January 13, 2023 on a remote logging path on Blue Ridge Trail as the result of a single gunshot wound. Family had not heard from her since January 11th and became concerned that there was no cell phone activity on her phone. Selby's mother, Amanda Mercer, found her body when her cell phone pinged that location.
I walked that path. I found her body. We walked at least 2.5 miles in the dark, in the cold. There was no light there at all. I couldn't see anything in front of me. The moon illuminated her body. That's how we found her.
McClellan's attorney asked the judge for the continuance, saying that McClellan is waiting another mental health evaluation in Suffolk, where he is being charged with several charges, including prisoner escape and participating in a riot. He also has pleaded guilty to 2 counts of assault on law enforcement. Prosecutors asked the judge not to continue the sentencing, but the judge is allowing the mental health evaluation to take place before sentencing.
There's no healing when you lose your child. There's no moving forward. But it just hurts that we're stuck. And we're stuck here with no hope, and he actually has hope. Like, the system is giving him hope that he's gonna come home, but my baby never will.
And Darius McClellan is scheduled to be back in court here on February 4th for what the judge called a competency review/sentencing hearing. In Isle of Wight County, Robert Rizzo, 10 on your side.
Dozens gathered tonight at Yorktown Beach to honor the life of Honesty Selby, taken far too soon. Friends and family gathered to commemorate 18-year-old Honesty Selby. They played music, set out flowers, and candles were lit, illuminating the mourning faces of the loved ones left behind. The Williamsburg teen's body was found the day she was reported missing on a dirt logging path in a remote area of Isle of Wight County. And tonight, those who gathered grieving the huge emptiness now left in their hearts.
As older men, we shouldn't be burying our children, you know, and that's don't think that our parents that's been on our butt just for nothing. You know, that's remember that our family love you.
21-year-old Darius McClellan has been arrested as a suspect in her death. He's facing charges of second-degree murder and a weapons charge.
By the time Darius McClellan confessed to shooting Honesty Selby, her family had already lived through the worst days of their lives. They had filed the missing persons report. They had waited. They had held on to hope while investigators tracked a ping from Honesty's phone through rural Isle of Wight County, leading them to a logging road. And to her, no family should ever have to get that news. No mother, no father, no sibling should ever have to learn that the person they were calling, texting, and praying for was already gone, already left somewhere alone like she didn't matter. But Honesty mattered. She mattered enormously. McClellan was charged with first-degree and second-degree murder, along with firearm charges. The kind of charges that carry serious weight. The kind of charges that, for Honesty's family, felt like the beginning of justice finally taking shape. But then came the plea deal. In 2025, McClellan pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and the firearm charges, avoiding a full trial in the process. And while a guilty plea means he admitted to what he did, Honesty's family has been very clear about how they feel. They believe this was not a spontaneous argument that got out of hand. They believe this was planned. They believe Honesty was targeted. He sent her money through Cash App so she could take an Uber to him. He drove her out to a remote county. And when the argument happened, he had a gun. That is a sequence of events that Aonesti's family cannot look past. And honestly, it is hard to look past. The delayed sentencing has only made things heavier for them. Because every time a court date gets pushed, every time the process drags on, the family is forced to stay suspended in a grief that has no finish line. Closure is already an impossible thing to fully reach when you lose someone the way they lost Aonesti. But when the legal system keeps moving slowly, it chips away at whatever piece they are trying to hold on to. What Aonesti's story leaves us with is something that goes beyond the details of one case. It is a reminder of how quickly things can change. How a phone transfer, a car ride, and a drive to somewhere unfamiliar can be the last set of choices a young woman ever makes. Not because she was foolish, but because she trusted someone she had reason to believe she knew. Her friends and family saw tension in that relationship. They saw the arguments. They saw the control. And yet, as with so many situations involving young people and complicated relationships, the seriousness of what was building wasn't met with the kind of response that could have changed things. Not because no one cared, but because these things are hard to see clearly when you're inside them, and even harder to intervene in from the outside. That is not a blame. That is a truth. Aonesti Selby was 18 years old. She was a senior at War Hill High School, weeks or months from walking across that graduation stage. She had a family who kept in close contact with her, who noticed the moment she went quiet, who moved immediately to find her. That kind of love is real, and it is deep, and it deserved a different outcome. She deserved to graduate. She deserved to grow up. She deserved every ordinary, beautiful, complicated day that was ahead of her. And Andarius McClellan took all of it in a moment on a road in a county far from home. Aonesti Selby will not be forgotten. Not on this channel. Not in Williamsburg. Not by the family that is still carrying her name and fighting to make sure her story reaches as many people as possible. If this video moved you, please like it right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells the algorithm that this story matters. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you are not subscribed yet, please do that today, because every week we come here and we tell the stories of people who deserve to be remembered. Aonesti was here. She was loved, and she will not be reduced to a statistic or a headline. Say her name, Aonesti Selby. Rest easy, sweetheart.